Hello, everyone, and welcome to my imagination. If you have not been here before, I am Tina of Tina's Workshop. So something a little different today. Well, it's always something a little different, but a while back, my husband and I were watching a video by Brothers Make, and they were um, recycling, upcycling, making things from plastic. So in this video, they were using caps from bottles and jugs and stuff like that, like this. And they just had a whole bunch of them. They put them all together into a can and stacked them up and heated this whole thing. And then they turned they took it out of the can. They turned the whole thing on the lathe. And I'm like, this is really kind of a neat idea. You can make a spindle or make anything. Where my husband's been wood turning, I thought, this would be kind of cool. Well, they said to look specifically for #2 recycled plastic. And in going through, they're from Australia. Australia or New Zealand. I think they're from Australia. Anyway, they in they said in the lids they have the little recycle emblem and a #2. So I started going through all the lids I could find around the house just to see. Well, none of ours actually have the little recycled emblem with a #2 in it. So I don't really know exactly what kind of plastic these are, if it's the same as what they have or if it's different. And why theirs has that and ours don't, I don't know. So I started looking around trying to figure out things with that type of plastic. And they said it specifically had to be that kind of plastic. That was the only kind that was going to work. So I start going through our stuff trying to figure that out. I can't figure anything out. Then my husband does. He found out that our big buckets we get, um, like those Home Depot orange buckets and things like that, they are #2 plastic. So he took a bucket and literally cut it all up. He used snips like this and he cut this whole thing up, except for this part. That's all that's left of the bucket. And he cut them into all these little pieces. Lots and lots of little pieces. And they have like little bits of white paint and stuff like that on them. So he cut all these up and he started heating them up in here. And they used a heat gun. He tried the heat gun. He wasn't, even though we have a really super duty heat gun, he wasn't really quite getting it hot enough. Then he tried using a torch. That's ultimately what he ended up using, was a torch. And he'd put a little bit in at a time and heat it and stamp it down. And he kept going. And that's what we eventually used, and then pulled that out and we worked it on the lathe. And we used a little bit bigger can than this one. And so anyway, ultimately that's what he had used and spun on the lathe. And I have some pictures I'm going to show you of this very first process when he was heating it, because I didn't film any of that. And then when he turned it on the lathe, I recorded all of that. We did run into a few problems along the way, and you will see that even though he heated it in sections and pushed it down and heated more, we still ended up with air bubbles. And so when we were done, we had these rather large air bubbles that had been in it. And for the purpose of what we were making, a drop spindle, which needs to be balanced properly, those air bubbles were not going to really work. But I wanted to keep going with what we had made, so I figured some little things around. So with the spindle, it needs to be balanced, and if you have too many large air bubbles, it's going to make it unbalanced. But this was just something we were playing around with, so I just wanted to see what I could do to complete this project once we had started it. I ended up using super glue, and you will see that I do have that recorded. And I put super glue into the holes, and then I used the propellant to speed dry it. And on certain surfaces, when you use that, it foams up the glue. It's really wicked to watch it, and all of a sudden it foams up and it all turns white. And it turns very hot too, because I forgot I had it on my skin and do that. That's what it did on this surface. So there was a whole nother obstacle I had to overcome, because that also made it larger than what I was needing it to be. So I ended up sanding that down, and then I had some areas that I tried to fill in and not use the propellant on. Then there were other larger spots that I was having issues getting it to fill, so I did use the propellant on purpose. Anyway, so ultimately, by the time I was done, I did end up filling all the holes using the super glue, sanding it down, and then it wasn't as pretty. Even going down to a fine grit, I couldn't get back to that nice shine of the plastic. So I ended up spraying it afterwards and putting a clear coat on it. And I think my can was starting to run out, so it was a little bit rough too. It is what it is. But I will say, this spindle probably spins better than just about any other one I have. And it may not be the prettiest thing compared to some of the wood ones he's made me, but it's kind of neat. It's this upcycled thing. It works really well. And I had one of his the other day that I actually ended up painting, and I really liked the way it came out. So I'm thinking I might end up later on adding to this one with a little bit of paint, but I haven't done that yet, so you won't actually see that, but I will show you the spindle at the end of the video, show you how it works, and let's get to it, and I hope you enjoy this video. When you put it out, and you got yeah. So I got to the end of the video, editing it all, and realized my clip of actually using the spindle was not there. So I'm adding this on. So I hope you have enjoyed this video so far. And if you have, please click the like button. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe. And if you want to be notified when I upload videos, then hit the subscribe button too. So I have been processing some Shetland. I've This has been scoured and it hasn't, which is cleaned if you don't know. And that's all that's been done to this so far. And then I've been brushing it out so it becomes super nice and fluffy. So that is what I was spinning on this when the video cut off. And let me find my end. There it is. Just gonna overlap this a little bit and then the fibers grab each other. And here we go. It is actually still spinning. This thing spins amazing. So it may not be the prettiest spindle, but it spins really, really well. I mean, your reach is going to end before the thing stops spinning. So you can do quite a bit on this and it'll just keep spinning for you. So there is the finished spindle. Like I said, not the prettiest. I may end up painting it, doing something, you know, to spruce it up a little bit, but it's still kind of fun. It's made out of a bucket of all things, and it is an amazing spinner. So I'm 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 glad we did this. This was fun. Hope you guys all enjoyed it too. And we'll see you again soon. Bye.